All right, we are starting this session. I don't know how it will go because this is a pretty, and the first time I'm doing this live. Uh, most
Yeah.
of the times it is like a very private process, but yeah, I was like, okay, ठीक है. Yeah, maybe
Let's try building in public as well.
yeah, might as well design in public as well and see
Design.
what is working, what is not working. Okay, so how I'm thinking of is maybe I'll just connect my screen. I will just start off, and the overall idea is to brainstorm on what would a modern reader profile look like, something that we are proud to associate ourselves, like our identity with it, and would want to share. Just I think Twitter is at a place wherein you would like anytime share, you would want to share a Twitter profile because you know
Yeah.
that your most authentic self there. um, Same with Insta as well. I think you would want LinkedIn. I'm not sure if you will share or not. And Goodreads, although is intended for that, but yeah, I think does not it does not really have have an incentive to innovate. So yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is do an alternate. So let's see. Let me share my screen. Let me know when you see my screen. You see my screen?
Not yet. No.
Not yet?
अभी सिर्फ वो मैसेज आ रहा है. I started sharing screen.
Can you see it now?
नहीं.
Nahin? Weird. Okay. This is like a pretty bad. Okay. How do I? Harsh, do you see the screen? पहले टेस्ट करना चाहिए था ये तो bad. All right, I think this should work now. I'll change my Wi-Fi. Let me share now. Do you see it now?
No.
Really?
Where are you going to design? Study पे.
What?
कहाँ पे डिजाइन करने मुझे?
I was thinking of using my iPad, but feels like it is not working. I'll do one last try. If it does not work, then maybe we'll use some other tool. Do you see this now?
Yes.
Arey wow, awesome. Okay, I was like really, I was was sort of stuck. Okay, क्या किया जाए? But ठीक है. All right. So all right, we'll start this now. Feel free to like beach में drop off, come back in. If you want to grab something to eat or something. Yeah. So the idea is you want to design a modern reader profile. So what are some elements that would make you want to share your your profile? So one thing, feel free to like drop in the chat or just unmute and just start speaking anytime. Um, So one thing I feel is um, it should act as a of signal that you're an avid reader, something like that. So this is like the overall goal. How can you signal is
You
one
can basically show what is the current book that we are reading, or what are the past books that I read.
right. I think currently reading should be at the top.
Forefront, yeah.
And I'll just say like maybe call it like P0. This is like it doesn't really matter if you have read X number of books before, because that basically says you were a reader before. But if you're reading something now, that should take the max priority. So I think P0 goes to currently reading, and then uh, in the past or read books, um, should we like show all, or should we show like some selected ones? Just thinking out loud. Let's say if someone has read 50 books. So is it good to show all those 50 books, or I'm just thinking if we can give the user an option to pin certain things, um, that could
In maybe the last three books or their favorite books, something like that.
right. So something like um,
Pin recent book or pin favorite book.
so we'll say 50 books would be too much. So selected may just pick their um, top three or five. So this I think this covers. So on the books aspect, this covers reading um, past books and want to read. I'm not sure if like do we want to include that. So Goodreads of course has this feature, but let's say if you say that you want to do X thing, is that something that should be there? Like if you are sharing a profile, do you want to share that hey, I'm interested in reading this book, but I haven't read this yet, but I want to. Uh,
Definitely, because books are a major part of Goodreads, as well as, like, it
True,
signals that I am interested in this genre.
that is true, but like from a like I always think nowadays always think all things in the context of proof of work, and want to read is like it's a very simple thing. I can have like 10, 100,000 books in my want to read, and that really doesn't sh- tell me anything, because like want to read is like unless like I'm there's a friction to add here what why I want to read this. I think want to read nahi hona chahiye. We can iterate on that. For now, I'll just say ki this is like not um, a proof of work. So skip for now. So from a book's context, so this becomes currently reading will keep on the priority. Past may say instead of all, we'll just do top three or five. We'll decide the number. I think number can be iterated. You're just saying ki
Um, can I interject?
yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I just want to say that if you want to include want to read, you should include why you want to read that, because I think that matters. And if you include that, then it can like be interesting, because there are certain reasons why you choose a particular book to read, right? If you
Right.
include that, then it can be like a good signal.
agreed, agreed. And the why could be something like friend recommended,
Hmm.
or recommended by a senior or a peer. It's like
Yeah, it's sometimes also, the blog seems interesting and stuff. There are multiple reasons.
lovely. Makes sense. Okay. So this covers the books part. Uh, then the other part would be, so thinking in terms of like a maker log for readers thing. The next thing should be what passages or like what excerpts you are liking. This is there in Goodreads, but I think it is not highlighted as such. But at the same time, if if you want to use this profile to build a habit, um, the excerpt is something. It's again like a proof of work. So how I'm thinking is, you read a book, and let's say if you're reading daily, you're just posting um, one line. It's not like a book summary or something. You're just posting one line that you like,
Yeah.
and that sort of acts like a proof of work and like logging of that you read today, something like that.
And based on this, we can show the current streak, the longest streak, analytics like that on the profile.
Great. This sort of is like a log. Then we can have current streak. This would be in days, or how do you want to put it? So now I think
That
that
will be the
there comes a decision thing wherein for some people daily might be a challenge. Do you want to like relax this? Because let's think from a design perspective, you think that let's say someone is on a 50-day reading streak, and you sort of got into an urgent situation, or anything for whatever reason you're not able to read on let's say today.
351. Yeah.
So
So,
now you
uh,
get back to zero. If you keep
so in Duolingo, I think how the streak works is if you miss one day, the streak is still intact. But if you don't come back the other day, like if I miss logging today, it's okay. But if I don't even log tomorrow, the streak breaks. But if I log tomorrow, the streak continues.
got it. I think this looks good. So miss
Can
once.
we include pages instead of days? Because I think for books that would make more sense. Like how many pages you're into a particular book.
Hmm.
Because I
So
think that would start conversations. I don't care if you're reading for 30 days. I care if you're into that book that much. If I am into that book that much, then we can talk about it.
got it. Got it. So I'm just thinking. So basically, should we do days versus pages?
Because I think days is more of a vanity metric. Like you can say that I've been reading for 30 days, but that does not affect me at all.
Hmm. The thing with pages is it is very um, hard to standardize, in the sense that, let's say if it's a fiction book, then maybe you will read 50, 80 pages in one sitting. If it is a non-fiction, maybe by 20 or 30 you feel sleepy. If it's a really dense non-fiction, then maybe even 5 pages it becomes like a core.
True,
Uh,
but if you've been reading the same book, I would know that, right?
Reading the same book. Agreed. But think from a social profile perspective, it would be very less likely that, let's say there are 100 people on the platform.
Hmm.
It's very less likely that multiple people are reading the same book, because there are like hundreds and thousands of books. So
True, but like what purpose does days serve there even? It's like, what are you telling people?
That they enjoy this as a hobby, right? Like if you are doing this daily, so you are like very into this idea of reading.
Okay, cool.
as the
Plus, it's not going to be just that we are indicating that we have read on these days. We are also attaching a proof of work with it, like a line from the book. So uh, it it's a very it's hard to fake this thing. Whereas with pages, we cannot actually signify that we have actually read these much pages, right?
Good. I think what Asta wants to say, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is if you have read, so days is something is key. Let's say there are three people. Let's say we are like all the people on this call. If all of us say ki, hey, I've read today, I've read today, I've read today, I've read today, um, there's no more data after that. But if you say
Exactly. It is not like start conversations. That is what I was saying.
correct, correct. If you say I've read 10 pages, I've read 20 pages, one says 50 pages, one says 80 pages. So it sort of like creates buckets, and you can sort of like maybe connect with people from like for lack of a better word, like a similar bucket, a similar level. You can like say ki, hey, I'm a beginner reader, so you sort of connect there versus hmm. So there's no granularity. Hmm. So one thing I can think of is we can keep the pages as optional. So you can come and say that, hey, I read on this day. And you don't need to be exact. You can just say, hey, I roughly read 10 pages. Um, I roughly read 80 pages of this book, something like that. And that, again, I'm not sure if we keep it optional, people will um, fill it or not. But I don't want to make it mandatory, because then number of pages becomes a vanity metric. People start optimizing for that. Isliye I don't want to give it like a main focus. Um, yeah, because there are people who like to read slowly, so to say, or read and then just think for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, versus people who want to like just skim it once, and then if they like something, they'll go back. So I think number of pages is sort of, yeah, it can be, it become, as soon as it becomes a measure, I think it would be a bit, it might be stressful to some people. So
Can we do something like have this as an input key? How many pages did you read today? And like if people fill in regularly that, so based on the number of pages, we can maybe give a badge like this is a speed reader, this is a slow, like your reading speed is slow.
but
Basically tell them.
who would want a slow reader badge?
Yeah, but like just a measure, like not
I
a
think
badge, but
instead of if you quantify करना ही है, तो फिर then maybe time spent could be a better quantifier, that I read for
yeah.
10 minutes a day this day. I read for 30 minutes today. I read for 2 hours today. I think, Astha, what do you think about that? Let's say whatever you want to capture by, let's say, someone reading 80 pages, if they instead say, I read for 1 hour, 2 hours, does that solve for what you're looking for?
No, not exactly. Because in pages, what I'm looking for is if you're reading like similar books. If I have read that book sometime, I can like just go and ping that person and be like, did you discover this? Or, be like that. Hours and everything is good in a habit structure. Like for me, it's good. I can say that I read for 2 hours
Got it.
today and it
So
makes sense for me. But if it
quickly,
has to be
quickly,
social,
quickly interjecting here. So you mentioned which book they are reading and how many pages, right?
yeah, exactly.
So what I'm saying, if we replace that with which book they are reading, that we're capturing, and how much time did they read that book that day? Let's say someone says, which book are you reading nowadays?
Latitudes of Longing.
So someone says, ki, hey, I read for 60 minutes and this book. So you get two data points, the book name as well as the time, rough time spent on this today. Would that be equivalent to the pages?
Yeah, I think that would be better than days.
All right, all right. Okay. So versus pages, and then we have like a third option, which is like minutes. So
I think that would be more difficult for people to quantify because we don't generally read in one sitting, right? You read, then you do something, then you read again. So like for me as a person, it would be difficult to write it down, like for how much time I read a book.
So that's a fair thing. Like if you're reading for multiple times a day, and especially between two different activities, if you're
Yeah. I
using
don't
it.
know how much time I spent on reading. If I'm reading digitally, that's a different thing. But if I'm like reading a book physically, I don't know.
Okay, so I think what we can do is we can do an optional input of number of pages or time spent per day on this book. As soon as you log itna minutes X, let me just write it, right? Let's say then the input could be, okay, let me do like this. I read, and there could be two options. We'll need to figure out the UX, but the two statements could
Also,
look.
I think we need to consider what we're trying to, like, what is our goal with this? What we're trying to convey. I think that would make it easier to choose between days or pages or minutes.
Correct. So we want to signal, we want to create a profile that people would feel proud to share across.
Hmm.
And it becomes like a social thing wherein you can quickly skim someone's profile, see, like you mentioned, right? I think a few minutes back, you can quickly see that, hey, this is, think of it that, let's say it is connected to your profile, right? So you
Yes.
can quickly go to this platform, see who your followers or who you're following, what are they reading, and then it can spark a conversation. So I think conversation starter
True.
is definitely a goal. I think we should write as well.
So, but if we're trying to signal that they're an avid reader, I think the number of books does not really matter because some people read 100 books, but they're all like shitty books. And I don't want to talk with that person. But if someone has like read 5 books, which are like really interesting and good books, I think I would like prefer that person over
Correct,
someone who
correct.
has
So,
read 50 books.
so we picked this one, right? In the red books, we said we'll not show all. We'll just show their top 3 or 5 books.
Yeah, that makes
The-
more sense.
This,
And also, I think we should like show whatever the diversity of their reading. Like if they're only reading non-fiction books, if they're only reading fiction books, if they're only into fantasy, because I think that is also a thing with books because some people read very differently.
correct. I think this decision we can leave um, to the profile owner. What variety of books? So we'll just give them 3 or 5 slots. Let's say
Yeah.
X slots, and what they want to showcase there. I think we can write some copy so that they understand what signal it gives out. And I think that point is pretty valid. Key, there could be a lot of, like, just looking at the bookshelf of someone, you can clearly say, hey, I want to talk more, or hey, no,
Yeah, exactly.
reading something else. Okay, I think sounds good. So basically, then we are saying this is like past read books is um is equally, if not more important than currently reading.
I mean, people change also their reading habits, so it's fine to like
Right. Okay.
give currently reading importance
Okay. So
because we all read bad books when we're teenagers, so it's fine.
yeah, yeah. That is like a pretty growth. Yeah, yeah. And just remembered some books that I read. All right. Okay. So we can have two inputs. We need to find a good UX to be able to switch between them. And the two input could read. I read X pages of the book name today. This is like one input, or I read this book for X minutes today. I think this sort of, as soon as someone fills this out, clicks on maybe submit or something, um, we can just log that. The streak increases, and this is a log. All right. This,
Can I ask something?
yeah.
For the books, are we using like a database sort of thing? People can choose a drop down or they have to like enter the name of the book.
I think it was something like you enter and it searches and you can select from a list.
Cool. So it's kind of a drop down.
Yeah.
It is sort of a problem, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
All right. So that is streak. All right. So now, how do we show passages or excerpts on the profile? And I think this sort of becomes a similar thing as books, which is one is your current passages. I'll just sort of bring this here. Currently highlighted passages. And the other is your past or favorite 5 passages or something. I don't know, does 5 past passages make sense or not? So think of the passages as something that you really liked, you were really surprised by reading this. It had some eureka moment for you. Uh, Again, something like a signal wherein I think it's better to think of it as a signal wherein you're saying, effectively saying that if this paragraph resonates with you, we should talk. Yeah. What do you think about this?
So this is something like a log that we are logging in daily. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking, what if we give this an Instagram like feed visualization, wherein the passages that you enter, the excerpt, तो उसका जो कोट शॉट बन रहा था, we display them as an Instagram feed.
Oh, interesting. Asta, have you seen the quote shots that we have been putting out?
No, I haven't.
If you can go to Twitter or Instagram, or can you just drop the link?
Yeah, yeah.
Then, mm, interesting. Basically, we're creating a like it would be like a. I'm not sure how close should it be to a social media. But if you have like Insta like feed of quote shots, then effectively it becomes an Instagram for books. All right. So basically, so then, for the V1, right? Well, of course, we can have a lot of features,
Yeah.
but should we have like follow for the initial version?
So what I'm thinking is right now we should just list down all the ideas that we have, and then we can filter out that for V1 these are the MVP features that we need to focus on, and these are good to have, which can be incorporated in V2, V1 or V2.
I would say instead of features, we should focus on goals with this, because from a feature perspective, pretty much we can list down everything from a social media, right? Um, and what that means is ki you're also getting friend requests, you're also getting DMs, you also can like, comment, share threads. Um, yeah. So I think we should not add a single feature which does not serve what we want, because um, I think let's write the goal, right? So it should be least disruptive from a social sense. So from a social sense, what I mean is ki, it should not be keep people are spending, you're asking them to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes on it every day. The Twitter, like I open it and pretty much you are not you, but like
Doom scrolling.
I can't do I go into doom scrolling, and it's like it's a very nice time pass for me. Like if I'm a break, and instinctively open Twitter. I think from a design sense, V1 should be like least disruptive. Uh, from a goal sense, I would just say it should just require 2 minutes per day. That is all. It should not. I don't know. Can we like lock the profile after 2 minutes or whatever? But yeah, I think it should not require anything more than 2 minutes a day. So if you think from how we are running things on Discord, right? People just come in, they post their daily passage, and then they leave. That's all. So I think that is what you're sort of trying to move to a platform, right? That is what you want to automate. So you land on the profile, you're logged in already. You just come, you just log for today, and you are done. I think. And one more thing that should I'll just write features from a V1 perspective. Log what you're reading, what you read. So log what you read today. Second is if missed, send a nudge reminder on कहाँ हो सकता है ईमेल हो सकता है ट्विटर हो सकता है it could be Insta. Can we automate Insta DM? I don't know. Insta. It could be WhatsApp. Could be Telegram. So what I'm saying is key. The goal is keep people are reading. So if someone misses reading for one day, or it could be missed logging for one day, I think next day we can send a nudge on one of the preferred platforms. I'm not sure if we should integrate all. Maybe WhatsApp seems like the most effective one because everyone uses WhatsApp and like it is there. So, how do you feel about that? Like, can we do this? Can we send a nudge reminder? Okay, you missed logging yesterday. Um, and yeah, like if you don't log in by today, your streak resets, as I put something like that. Is that
So on WhatsApp, like if we are integrating a platform into WhatsApp, but what I mean by that is you log your message on, you log your excerpt on WhatsApp itself, and it automatically gets on the database and updated on your profile. So if we are doing that, we can easily send a reminder on WhatsApp itself because that's the bot doing the job. Otherwise, for V1, if we are like deciding it to be a separate platform where people come and log, then email is the easiest.
agreed? ठीक है. So I think email or WhatsApp will decide um, based on the implementation. And third is shareable profile. What I mean by that is key if we have all the logs on that profile. So this is just even like forget they have 100 things or so. If you roll it out today, not today, but yeah, like just take an example. If you roll it out today, after 2 or 3 weeks, they would have that data of logging things every day. They would have added their favorite past books that they have read. Um, should we also include rating and review for those books?
I don't think so because there are platforms for that. What we are making is like what those platforms lack. So I
Agreed.
think
So basically, we are just saying कि हाँ मतलब basically if you did not like this book, then you won't showcase it on your profile. So if
yeah.
you only like one book, then just say कि हाँ, this is one book that I like, which I can have on views about. Share a profile. What else?
How are these course shots made? Do people like take pictures and then you edit them?
This is made by a tool called the Readwise.
Oh, okay. This is from Readwise. So everyone who's doing this has to have Readwise subscription or what?
No. The team does
I
it for now.
Oh, okay, cool.
But like those, so we tried a bunch of things and this looked pretty nice.
No, this is nice. I was just asking because this seemed like some tool was doing it. Because I expected it to be like camera shots of books. So that is why I was asking.
Right. So the thing with camera is key, like you're adding one more friction point to the user. Yeah.
So how do the users do this? Like they select a paragraph, what happens?
Yeah. Right now they just like copy the paragraph into Discord.
Then clicking pictures is easier than that. But if I'm not reading digitally at all, then I'll prefer clicking a picture of the page and just posting it.
When you'll have to have some guidelines on should be readable and all.
then that
Yeah, but
becomes
it's
the
like a
friction
printed
point of the.
book. So it's like it will be mostly readable.
All right. So we have like two. And how so let's say you take a picture of the whole page and you only wanted to highlight something. So like do you highlight first, then take a pic? Or do you take the pic of the entire thing and then you write "Hey, this paragraph is what I wanted to focus on."
I think we can leave that to people. I mean,
Right. Right.
The thing with physical pictures are then the uniformity. There is no uniformity. Like with post shots, every post shot would look the same.
do we
But
want it to
then
be uniform?
it looks good if we talk about the post shots, right? There's a text clearly readable excerpt and the name of the book, the cover of the book, the author.
I mean,
Yeah, true.
one thing with this is this also sort of um, I don't know how to quantify this, but this gives you an organic feel.
Yeah, it feels nice like to see pictures
Yeah.
books.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because most I don't know like what is happening, but I don't think most people read digitally.
I think that is a very um, I don't know. It's very it varies a lot. Like I have seen both spectrums. Like if I have to guess, I would say more people read digitally,
Okay.
and I think one reason is people get free copies digitally, and
No, that is true. But like if I'm reading, I think most people already like do click snapshots of things they like from books and post it. This is like a thing people do. You're just making it a platform thing.
right, right, makes sense. This looks sort of good for a reason. Rob. Ask any other things you feel?
One thing I thought of, like if you really like a quote and then you even type it out, like if you're reading from a physical book and you really like a quote, you type it out, that also solidifies that on your memory as well. So like
Sometimes they're really long. You can't type like 100 words.
that is true.
And if you type short ones, then it's out of context and it does not make sense.
Okay. Makes sense. I think physical wala thing is it makes sense because yeah, like I have some physical books and um, there is if it's non-fiction then it's fine, but um, fiction I would not want to type it out because yeah, it's
Yes.
mostly conversation. Yeah, फिर, uh, yeah, I just don't want to type it out. I think it's my so ठीक है. I think we can have two separate options there. I think instead of like going more into features, I think this looks good for
So
week
this
one.
is like the reader profile thing, or this is the thing you see when you like, is it an app or something? If it's an app, what do you see when you open it? Like this is what you see.
So you see when you open it, you get an option to log what you read today.
Okay.
Once you sort of log it, it's just a log of your prior excerpts for now. And I think the friends and other things we can add later. That is what I feel.
Cool. Okay. So now what you're doing is you're just like clicking pictures of your favorite stuff and you're uploading it to like keep as a reminder or like, just logging in daily.
Right. So there can be other features that can be built on it, which is, let's say something like you get random your past memories sort of can come up 1 month later, things like that. I think all those things. Think of it as a reading journal. I think that's the best way to uh, put it.
Okay, makes sense.
Cool. So
I think this would work better if you like took a Goodreads profile and then broke it down to like things that don't work. Because I think Goodreads profiles are similar, but there are some things that feel so that you just don't want to use it.
agreed. I think let me open it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Cool. So all right. So we have currently reading at the top left, which is where like my mind instantly goes. And I think this is in line with what we will have in, like you all said, currently reading should be P0. So I think this is fine. The update progress button is just fine. We have a reading challenge here. I think this can come with time. I think this is also like from a UX perspective, very nice that I have a summary upfront. I would ideally want it. Actually, I can see the number above the fold. I don't have to scroll because like I have more books here, but it is hiding it so that I can see the number on the first load. So I think this is also fine. From a want to read, yeah, I've never looked at this section. To be honest, this is the first time I'm noticing that this section exists. So this is sort of dead to me. Uh, these numbers are also like not very interesting to me. There's some toolbar icons.
This feed is no one looks at this feed, right?
I so I definitely don't look at these like is now friends. I'm not sure if there's a way to disable this. Like I don't really care about
Exactly. So this feed is like not necessary.
one thing that I so started reading is something I'm definitely not interested in. If some people are liking some review, I think that is something. Okay, I don't understand this language, but let's say if I go to some other, okay, my feed is filled
I
with
think
this.
you should not have an option to like a review. You should like always add something to a review if you want to like it.
In some sense, it's like, hey, I agree with this.
Yes, then say that.
It's like a low effort, like a lowest friction item. It's just more than a view, but less friction than anything else. Um, it's just that you are publicly admitting that, hey, I have seen this. I agree with you in the lowest friction possible. I don't think likes are going anytime. Because comment is a very high effort thing. I would
No, true, but liking pictures is different than liking. How do you like a review? You have to like you will have opinions about it, right? You don't just like something that is written.
got it. Instead of saying like, you you're suggesting something like, hey, I'm intrigued by this, so it makes me want to read this, or I have read this and I agree with your review.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. Has rated a book. I think this is something I'm interested in. Like, but it is 4, so I'm not really interested. But yeah, if someone is rating something 5, thing, I'll just check it out and I'll click on want to read. Um, but yeah, I'm like, I'll not actively open Goodreads and like scroll for this. Like, I'll not spend my time here. So this feed is effectively useless for me. News is again useless for me because this is not how I consume books. Um, I mostly find books from recommendations or from, like, I prefer searching my own books. I spend hours for picking a book, and like yeah, this is more like a push thing. Ki, "Hey, this is recommending, read this." I've
No,
not.
but if the news was interesting, I think people would be interested. If they would be selling, if you're telling something great about some popular books, if the news is about Harry Potter or something, you would click on it, right? So
Right.
it matters what the news is.
Definitely, but like, I'm not coming to Goodreads to read about news of books. I don't know how to
Yeah.
phrase this. Like, even if there's a Harry Potter thing, once I'm here, maybe I'll click it, but like, it does not have a correlation for me, as in, hey, I'll go to Goodreads and I expect to find something like this there.
True. Yeah.
Recommendations. Yeah, I think this recommendation is something. Okay, this feels interesting. A theory of fun for game design. Okay, I'll just click on want to read. This is actually a good, like, it gave me a proper context of why this was recommended. But this is not all right. I think recommendation is something we can think of adding in V2 here. Goodreads Choice Awards. Actually, I think if news was replaced with this, this is more relevant, which is, it tells me, I think there are like different genres of books here, and at least I can, if there's a category that I don't normally read, let's say historical fiction or horror, something like that, I can just pick the top book. I don't have to think about it much because I know this is like vetted in some sense, vetted by the masses. Yeah, I'll just sort of pick this up. This is cool. This will only come with like the network effect, not when you're starting out. And yeah, this is just legal stuff and things. Yeah. But yeah, I think the main real estate is like pretty underutilized, or I would say like it is more valuable if they just remove this entirely.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah. I think the major two things that I'm looking whenever I'm opening Goodreads is I'm just using it as a tracker to just say that I've read this, and it's just a signal only. Like, um, for myself, I know that, hey, I've read this. I'm just putting it there as a, for someone else to see in some sense. I'm noting it somewhere so that when someone asks me, "Have you read this? Have you read that?" I can just forward them my Goodreads profile and say, "Hey, this is what I thought about it." I actually use Notion for this nowadays. I put my reviews on Notion and I just copy paste on Goodreads just so that it's at one place. And the other thing that I come for Goodreads is finding new recommendations. I think these are the two things that I come for. Um, and I think from a social perspective, one thing that I like about people putting in their excerpts is that instead of saying this book, I see a longer, like a passage from that book, and I can instantly see, hey, I like this, I don't like this. If I like this, then I'll just maybe click on follow. I think that could be something that I follow this book. Or if I don't like this, I can say maybe don't follow this book. And next day, whoever is reading that, uska excerpt I see first. Or if I said I don't want to see, maybe I'll not see that. Instead of that, the platform surfaces some other book. So in some way, it can like prime you, and it instead of a book summary, it shows you different passages, and it gives you a more realistic preview of, hey, this is what the book looks like. If you're interested in this content, instead of like a summary which is like SEO optimized and like bestseller बनने के लिए optimized, it is like the real content, and yeah, it's just like a preview in some sense. Cool. So we have the first set of features in place. Above, what do you think? How far